And here we are.
In a world where everyone is at peace, in a world where everyone can live together in harmony, where everyone can be friends, a world of light, a world of dreams, Planet Popstar is not what it may actually sound or seem. A paradise to many, but a feeding ground to darkness is also at its disposal. Let us discuss this world's most iconic of beings.
Waddle Dees are a species most native to Planet Popstar and are known for their docile, carefree nature. Waddle Dees are mostly upbeat or cowardly and are usually not very skilled. However, a few rare have actual jobs or professions. Many different variations of the Waddle Dees exist in the world. Scholars believe that Waddle Dees roam freely and travel about, until someone gives them food and a place to sleep. Waddle Dees feel that it's their duty to stay and repay their host. Mostly all of the Waddle Dees in Dreamland are loyally serving the strong, greedy, silly, slow-witted, self-proclaimed King Dedede. Despite being self-proclaimed, King Dedede has earned enough respect to be able to establish multiple castles and resorts all across Dreamland. King Dedede's most loyal and trustworthy Waddle Dee is known as Bandana Waddle Dee, subordinate of the king and representative of the Waddle Dees. Bandana Waddle Dee himself holds many insecurities, but the little guy yearns to become stronger. Albeit, King Dedede can treat his subjects quite poorly at times. King Dedede is willing to make time for them and is even willing to sacrifice his own life for his people. King Dedede and his most royal knight, the mysterious chivalrous Meta Knight, would work together to keep Dreamland safe from any threat that would make its way down. Unfortunately, this power only got to King Dedede's head over the years, becoming careless and obsessed with eating food, causing him to steal all the food in Dreamland and the magical sparkling stars, which are said to provide the food and give the people of the land the power and strength they need to survive. This is where the selfless, heroic, pink, elastic, spherical creature, Kirby, blew into Dreamland one day, bringing justice and easily becoming Dreamland's one true savior, sparking a rivalry between Kirby and the king ever since. In regards to Meta Knight, after seeing how the king has fallen, he and his respectful crew known as the Meta Knights bring on up a giant battleship they had crafted, known as a halberd, in order to gain control of the Dreamlanders and end the laziness that had plagued the land, wanting preparation for what danger could strike next. Still, similar to King Dedede, Meta Knight was driven by power, and intends to become even more powerful than anyone ever was, even if it means putting everyone at risk to accomplish this said goal. Meta Knight attempts to always hide his innocence for honor. Under the mask, he is the same species as Kirby, but is rather far more matured. Actually, many different Kirbys exist in this world, all being very innocent, having a cheerful demeanor, and a very positive attitude. Overall, Kirbys have a very single-minded nature, which has led to some terrible misunderstandings, but that does not stop them from fixing these issues at their core. Kirbys already hold an infinite power, that being the ability to suck up objects into their mouths like a vacuum, which stretches to fit large objects. They can then swallow the object or enemy that is in their mouth to absorb it or either spit it out as a projectile. Some enemies hold special powers that they are able to copy once eaten, known as copy abilities. Kirbys also hold the abilities to float in the air just like a balloon, the ability to purify, the ability to multiply, use their own elastic bodies as a weapon, and store objects within their pocket dimension of a stomach. Their heart, on the other hand, is a celestial star, which holds the task of guiding them along their journeys.
Moving on, let's look at a few of the more remote beings that live within or have traveled to Planet Popstar. The Animal Friends. They are the beloved, friendly, intelligent creatures that work and care for Dreamland's environment. Each are able to use a mimicking ability to defend themselves, and thanks to their senses, the Animal Friends are almost always the first ones to notice anything bad happening to Dreamland. Rick the Hamster is known as the ruler of the lands. He is very caring and reliable, helping the forest of Dreamland. Kind the Sunfish is known as the guide of the sea. He is scatterbrained but can get really determined in given circumstances, watching over Dreamland's coral reefs. Coo the Owl is watcher of the skies. He is pretty wise and very capable. Coo keeps the communication amongst the birds. Nago, the kind yet pressuring and nagging cat. Pitch, the striving fun but adolescent bird. And Choo Choo, the fashionable, strange yet affectionate but short-tempered flapjack octopus. Pon and Con, the comedic fatherly duo. Pon the tanuki-like raccoon and Con the kitsune-like fox, creatures of mythology, said to be very mischievous and magical. They're even considered rulers of nature. This idea is further supported within the tropical planet Mistine, and its moon, Marine Moon, lies Goldon and Silvox. These conscious territorial glittery metal statues that resemble Pon and Con made their home on a backwater island in order to protect themselves from treasure hunters, as they are of great value. It is said they wish to leave their home and go elsewhere, but knowing the consequences that would follow them for doing so, they choose to stay put. Whispy Woods, a reasonable but presumptuous sentient apple tree existing since ancient times. Known as the guardian of the forest, he doesn't take kindly to anyone who gets too close to his roots and challenges those who do. Whispy Woods is not only the guardian of the forest residing in Dreamland, but many other locations found in Planet Popstar by hopping from one place to another. It should be noted that multiple sentient trees exist even outside of Planet Popstar, all holding similar regards. Kracko. Kracko is a selfish, cycloptic sentient cloud monster that lives in the skies, stated to be the ruler of the skies and has been gatekeeping the skies since ancient times. As long as there are clouds in the sky, Kracko will always be around. This immortal being is shown to be very territorial and does take things very personally. Kracko's power is not something to scoff at either. He is referred to as a ruthless god of thunder. Many Krakkos exist in the world, all training to become like their predecessors. Orbservors. Orbservors are mean, observant, slimy, cycloptic, spherical creatures that drop down from the sky, merely stated to be bad guys who appear out of nowhere, or when one would at least expect it, with the only real weak point being their eyeballs, as their eyes are the true beings here. They are very persistent and rogue in nature, with the very peculiar intentions of getting one out of their sight. Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright. Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright are the powerful, dutiful, but irritable sentient celestial bodies and the rulers of night and day. Relating to these celestial bodies is a sentient glistening yellow star named Mr. Star. Mr. Star spends his days traveling about and above Planet Popstar, and when he isn't, is shown to be a contender of a game known as Star Stacking. Star Stacking challenges one to manipulate pairs of falling objects to clear away as many star blocks as one can. This game is seemingly fair well known by society as a casual yet kiddish witch named Gryll, as well as her turnip-like comrades, Salt, Pepper, and Sugar, are determined to find and challenge the most skilled star stacker in the galaxy. Dyna Blade, an ancient, mystical, monstrous, legendary, enormous, armored, rainbow Achialabopa-like bird, believed to be a huge celestial bird god of the sky. Dyna Blade is seen ruining the Dreamlanders' crops, but for a valid reason, being a mother bird simply looking after her baby chicks. According to history books containing vast amounts of info on Dyna Blade appears every century to lay an egg. Moley. Moley is the burly, giant, prank-loving funster mole who is always thinking up new ways to take people by surprise. Moley and his wife, Mrs. Moley, can be found in a variety of underground caves across Planet Popstar, or other worlds entirely, and has some mean, mischievous little mole henchmen to defend their territory. They emerge from a mound of earth and toss an assortment of objects at their foes.
Acro. Acro is the harmonious, acrobatic orca, feared by society for having his gnarly scar on his face. There are more than one of these orcas roaming the seas, and these orcas can even be found on other planets entirely, usually confiding in sea caverns or sea trenches. Orcas are apex predators, meaning that they are at the top of their food chain. In other words, rulers of the ocean. At least one of many rulers that exist. Lady Ivy, Queen of Sandy Canyon, an island that is nothing more than a pit full of sand. Lady Ivy is a creative and determined, large serpent-like plant that somewhat resembles a thorny long snooze root wearing a cowboy hat. A snooze root is a plant that tends to doze off and hates when his sleep is interrupted. There are many variations of this sleepy plant. Pyribbit. Pyribbit is a willful, bulky, massive, ovaloid, fire-breathing, pyroclastic king of frogs and toads. Pyribbit is said to be so toasty, he uses molten lava for his bathwater, and his favorite hobbies include causing volcanic eruptions to happen, hopping from one place to another, quenching his thirst with boiling magma, and snacking on molten lava rocks. The most unforgiving environments are comforting for Pyribbit. Being referred to as a volcano god, Pyribbit has the ability to call forth sentient pillars of lava to do his bidding and attack those who defy his orders. The Gloved Hands. Known for their doting yet desirous nature, most notable are Master Hand and Crazy Hand, said to be brothers from a world beyond and are represented as youngsters. Master Hand is said to be the competitive embodiment of creation, and Crazy Hand, his twin malicious alter ego, is said to be the embodiment of destruction. Master Hand is the main source of the Smash ability, creator of what is known as the Smash Universe, pulling characters from different worlds, galaxies, and dimensions together to create it. He hides an ultimate power that many others wish to utilize, either for good or evil. Master Hand, seems to feel a certain joy in challenging chosen warriors who've claimed many victories, and waits for them at the final destination. Master Hand does have a temper though, and the more mad he gets, the more powerful he is said to become. Hiding from within both Master Hand and Crazy Head, a sinister being will then appear. A bunch of black objects will materialize, known as the Swarm. They will gather up and mimic a variety of shapes, changing its attack pattern with each new form. Relating to the Shadow Bugs, embodiments of a primordial and mysterious substance that can shapeshift to whatever and whomever, while creating evil doppelgangers in the process. Once the Swarm is truly defeated, it will cause them to reveal their true form, known as the Master Core, which takes up the appearance of a perplexing and corrupt smash ball, a sentient, special, and mystical item that lets one unleash the user's secret, ultimate power. The artists. Attending the Art Academy, these particular art students travel across worlds for their studies in becoming full-fledged artists, gaining access to a magical ability to be able to draw things to life. Paint Roller, for instance, is one of the most obnoxious of art students. It can be reasoned with. As for Adeline, nicknamed Ado, she is known as a friendly, shy, adventurous, but inspired human artist of the century.
Now knowing some of Planet Popstar's inhabitants, let's travel back in time to the ancient days to meet the Ancients themselves. The Ancients was a mysterious, multilingual, vast, and humane civilization that would eventually dominate the universe through their vast knowledge and power through science. Living close by these Ancients lied the Magic Tribe, a tribe who, of course, relied on magic, and they would soon work together to reach prosperity. These Ancients would establish many companies and businesses in the process, such as the Lytron Works Company, a company that invested in electronics, biotechnology, and astronomy. The Holline Corporation, which managed construction, streets, transportation, and amusement parks, with the Alival Corporation being about leisure, hospitality, entertainment, food shops, and service industries. The Ancients would eventually create and gave support to countless artifacts over the years, items that could bring dreams to life, make wishes come true, and bend reality itself. This includes the Master Crown, a crown of limitless power that has the capabilities of controlling space and time. The Lore Starcutter, a ship that can traverse time and go to any dimension. The Fountain of Dreams, a fountain that gives citizens good dreams and rest. The Star Rod, which powers the Fountain of Dreams and brings dreams to life. The Fountain of Sparkling Stars, a fountain that produces the magical sparkling stars, once more giving the citizens access to food and energy. The Dream Fork, a fork that grants the user's dreams to become a reality. Clockwork Stars, machines that can make wishes come true. Star Dream, albeit incomplete, is the most advanced computer in the whole universe, making wishes come true and opening portals to other worlds. The Magical Paintbrush, a brush that can open portals to other worlds, transform the world, and bring drawings to life, being the paintbrush to have created the abstract portraits of what are now known as the Paint Sisters, Drasha, Paintra, and Vividria. The Magic Knitting Needles, which can transform or create worlds and beings of yarn. The Dimensional Mirrors, which can access the floating planet above Planet Popstar, known as the Mirror World. Alongside other worlds it's able to come across, these mirrors can clone what is reflected and make wishes come true. The Air Ride Machines, hoverboard-like flying vehicles, which respond to the rider's mental commands and have varying abilities, specifically made for the purpose of combat, etc.
None of this would exist without their research and years of observation during the peaceful nature of wildlife, alongside their neighbors and soon-to-be partners. An invasive eldritch exploration rodent-like creature from an underworld known as Fecto Elfilis was ruled and attempted to invade their world, only to get captured. The Ancients would then transport Fecto Elfilis to their lab, known as Lab Discovera, where not only did they held tours for the general public to see, but studied the creature's spiral transformation abilities, using its great powers to mass-produce all of this super advanced technology we now know of. 30 years later, a space-time transformation accident occurred within the facility, causing Fecto Elfilis to get split in two. Fecto Forgo ended up holding the creature's invasive nature, and Elflin ended up holding the creature's innocent nature. Elflin managed to escape the Ancients' grasp and could not be located. The Ancients would pay no mind to this, however, as they would aesthetically leave their homeland to go to a land of dreams of sorts. Not only that, but their mark was left in multiple planets across the galaxy, as well, making new connections with the different people of those of mysterious new worlds. In relation to the Magic Tribe, one civilization that the Ancients may have came into contact with is the Fairies, a very broad and friendly magical race that have been existent since the dawn of time, bearing extensive knowledge in nature, archery, and much more. Another symbol of power the ancients may have came into contact with is the sacred yet possessive jade genie-like Mr. Dooter, guardian, ruler, and godly figure of the Raisin Ruins, the remains of a culture that once flourished planet Popstar, with their benefits based upon magic itself and gods roaming about the heavens, eventually giving them some kind of benevolence for their deeds.
In any case, the ancients then discovered what was known as Void, and studied this sparkling deity. Void is the origin and ancestor of all matter, darkness, dreams, souls, and hearts together all in one. Void is dependent on the emotional energy it receives to reincarnate into a new existence, and eventually, soon enough, Void became known as the Destroyer of Worlds of Void Termina. Void Termina began spreading a said darkness through the use of a Jambahart, a collective of negative energy, and the evil in one's heart. This darkness that was spread is likely linked to the existence of dark matter, a being made purely of negativity. They are an extremely dangerous threat to society, holding the abilities to possess others, corrupting the land with darkness, can recreate memories as tools or weapons, and so much more. However, it would take countless years later for dark matter to truly make a move, and chose to target planet Popstar, as dark matter in all of its life felt lonely and grew jealous of Dreamland, since everyone there specifically was friends with each other and quote-unquote he couldn't have a say, with dark matter long being ruled over by higher-ups such as Zero, Miracle Matter, Dark Nebula, and as such, the rulers and hives of darkness. Dark matter's main weakness is positive emotions, with only a rare chance for them to survive and actually change for the better. One such as the forgetful but open-minded Gooey, who was said to be made of the same material as dark matter. Gooey was set free by Kirby, and would become one of Kirby's bestest friends and his rent-free roommate. Note, once a ruler of darkness is defeated, another member of the hive will merely take over their position and continue operations.
Getting back on track, 4 years entrusted by the ancients then sealed away Void Termina within the Jambahart, using full heart spears. Spears that contain a collective of positive energy and innocence in one's heart. After that, a galactic crisis was then said to have occurred, stated by the kind, noble, and adventurous Highness, the leader of the Magic Tribe. Now, while we don't know what this galactic crisis was, we can pretty much assume that the crisis was one of the very own heroes, being Galacta Knight, as this warrior has the capabilities as destroying entire worlds, bending time, and mastering the power of light and darkness. This warrior was feared for his immense powers. According to records, termination had to be wrought, but that of course was an impossible ask to be accomplished. So he was sealed away in an enchanted crystal and thrown into another dimension, presumably by the Magic Tribe. However, that enchanted crystal still didn't have much of a chance to withhold the swordsman returning era after era. Still, Galacta Knight would remain there for countless years, resulting in him becoming drained both mentally and physically, binded always by rage. Regarding another dimension is of course an alternate dimension, but also serves as an interdimensional tunnel. In other words, an area in between multiple dimensions, essentially a multiverse. Another dimension has no real concept or a very strange concept of time. The easiest way to access another dimension is through portals or dimensional rifts, which appear in various places where the fabric of space-time has mysteriously broken down, or when they are opened by powerful beings or objects. Going through such portals can either reduce or enhance one's known abilities. Parallel variants are known as an invasive and an overall hostile race to another dimension, although they can be redeemed. Parallel variants are both from a specific and strong piece of emotional and spiritual energy that over time gather together within another dimension and are eventually given a form. Not just people, but entire locations are given a form, albeit one-of-a-kind planets do exist in another dimension. The only true beings that exist in another dimension are the Doomers. Doomers are a spatial bird-like race with many variations. They can feed off any type of vast energy that exists in the world and accord forth to said energy, making the power its own. The Grand Doomer is presumed to be the leader of all Doomers, and its biggest and most powerful of all. Doomers are capable of opening dimensional rifts to pursue energies that they so desire, but another dimension already carries enough energy for them to munch on, causing another dimension to be unstable and so out of proportion as it is, as well making certain parts invisible to outsiders. The ancients began fearing the absolute worst about everything since the Galactic Crisis. Fearing the magic's tribe power, companies would end up being lost and split apart for reasons unclear, creating new rival companies and corporate warfare.
Amidst this all, a girl who was said to have lost everything attempted to end her own life by falling off a tower before getting struck by lightning. There was a girl who was left stranded in a blizzard, and lastly, there was a girl who was left suffocating in an inferno. Highness saved them all and unlocked their hidden potential of magic. They since became loyal to him and have given oath to him for saving their lives. Sam Parisan being the dutiful streak of the bunch, Francisca being the cool and collected one, with Flambridge being the more laid back and hidden one, sticking together like family. Unfortunately, they were erased from history and sealed away by the ancients to another arcane space station at the edge of the galaxy, which the magic tribe would later call Jambantra. As it was around that time, Highness seemingly found the Jambashan religion with the three mage sisters, the Jam Believers and the Jammerjaws being among his followers. His beliefs are based on the fact that he once had a vision in which a god was speaking to him, inviting him to a new and peaceful land, and due to his vision of his matching up with the ancients writing about Boyd, Highness thought Boyd was his very god. And due to this vision of his matching up with the ancients writing about Boyd, Highness thought Boyd was his very god. Afterwards, in order to restore his clan, Highness somehow obtained the best of Boyd, the Jamba heart, in which the god would descend from and gave his benevolence. It could be presumed that Highness' own clan wrote their own book based on their knowledge, as Highness states that everyone else thought it was all just a fairy tale. Moving on back to the ancients, for seemingly unknown circumstances, the ancients all seemingly disappear without a trace, abandoning everything, with some of their artifacts being left guarded by the reckless machinery or peace, such as Landia. 4 ancient dragons entrusted by the ancients to protect all their most valuable treasures and trinkets, especially the master crown on which they can manage. According to records, dragons used to exist in the ancient days and they were known for their great power. In present day, the remnant dragons are now said to spend most of their time doing nothing but thinking of far-off lands and don't want to be disturbed by anyone. Besides that, the rest of the ancient artifacts were either sealed away, traded, or sold, which of course has led to disastrous results in the future, leading up to
Nightmare, a collective of negative consciousness or entities that grew sentience, said to be a master wizard that has been existing since ancient times. His one and only goal is to spread nightmares and chaos by either tainting the fountain of dreams or corrupting the very environment, that being through his own accord or through his corporation of nightmarish beasts.
Marx, a mischievous, clever, hungry puffball-like lavender creature that attempted to take control over Planet Popstar by making Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright get into a heated argument, taking advantage of the situation in order to gain access to the clockwork star Galacta Nova, all in order to make a wish, his wish being to do as much mischief as it'll ever like. Wouldn't be long before we learned that Marx was never alone in his schemes, and was a friendly with a resourceful presumed to be descendant to a relative of the ancients, a sketchy, bittersweet, lair and cosmic wizard named Magolor. Magolor came crashing down the planet Popstar in his unbeknownst to everyone stolen ship, the Lore Starcutter. This was in order to get support in defeating an enraged Landia, only to obtain the Master Crown and take over the galaxy for intention.
With the Squeaks, also known as the Squeak Squad, a gang of mouse-like intergalactic treasure-hunting thieves to eventually form one day. Squeakers do most of the intel gathering, but are timid. Spinny is the speed of the Squeaks, whom is the most fashionable and most involved with looking for treasure. Storo, the brawn of the Squeaks, whom is actually kind of a softie and quite dozing. Doc, who is not only the brains of the Squeaks, but is the eldest, whom is involved with making a bunch of technology with their impressionable, smug, and mischievous dry-skinned grand ruler, known as DeRoach, whom had been ambitious for treasure hunting since a young age, considering his own gang as a family in a sense, managing to steal some of the most dangerous artifacts in the process, and for mere personal gain, mistaking a chest residing in Castle Dedede to contain an immense power, only to contain Dark Nebula.
Going on to Floralia, Taranza is a clumsy close friend of the Sector clan queen Sectonia. He had found a dimensional mirror and stole it from its sacred resting place, and gave it to his queen as a gift. What Taranza didn't know was that this mirror was recently tainted by the world's darkness, and had created an invasive dark force known as Dark Mind, which not only ended up corrupting that very mirror, but the very mirror world itself, along with its people. creating an energy that could corrupt one's mind, one's body, and one's wishes eternally, mirroring the matter of darkness in a whole new perspective. After Queen Sectonia had looked into the mirror day after day, her mind had become twisted, as with her form, using her magic as a tool to brainwash and feed off her very own subjects, betraying her allies, imprisoning them, and attempting to take control of Planet Popstar.
The Haltmann Works Company. Led by Max Profit Haltmann, the Haltmann Works Company is a company that specializes in technology and science. A robotics company, if you will, a company which wishes to share the wonders of hard work. A company that may have been influenced by the separation of previous corporations that once existed in the days of old. You see, since a young age, Haltmann spent his livelihood making inventions, studying celestial bodies, building his company, and when he got older, he would dedicate some of his time to his sweet daughter, Susanna Petra Haltmann, or nickname Susie. Haltmann had recently begun performing tests on an incomplete ancient machine he found and reactivated, known as Stardream. During one of these tests, presumably one for Stardream's space-time transport program, a terrible accident occurred in which Susie was warped into another dimension. Susie eventually somehow returned from another dimension after growing up. However, President Haltmann no longer recognized Susie as his daughter due to losing his memories from the excessive use of an incomplete Stardream in an attempt to bring her back to life, as he believed that his daughter had died in that accident. Susie is deeply hurt by this and in turn changed herself. Bottling her emotions, she aimed to be hired by her father's company, but it was solely to sell Stardream to another startup company in order to have her father come back to his senses, which she easily passed her difficult exam, all while having no known resume. Nonetheless, Haltmann still felt that she was somewhat familiar to his daughter, and thus hired her as secretary and executive assistant of his company. Over time, Haltmann had slowly changed the directive of his company from reviving his daughter to infinite prosperity. Viewing life outside of his company as inessential, following the now sentient Stardream's business plan and invading different worlds, while also at hands with stealing data and technology from ancient whereabouts. These invasions involved mechanizing the landscape and some inhabitants of a given planet, developing its economy, harvesting energy resources, and planting research facilities in various locations in order to conduct weapon research.
Referring back to the Magic Tribe, Highness initially worshipped and revered Void with genuine emotions, but Highness eventually became obsessed with worshipping Void, as well as taking revenge on the ancients for sealing them all away. He became abusive to those around him and lost himself in a spiral of madness. Many years later, Highness would then proceed to try and break the Jambaheart's seal where Void was being held captive, but that plan failed miserably, as in he didn't know how to do it correctly, and thus ordered the Mage Sisters to go out in an effort to find the missing Jambahearts to complete the ritual, even if it meant sacrificing themselves to accomplish their one goal, which is to have Void Termina reborn. Residing in the now forgotten and forbidden lands, Fecto Forgo was since left in a state of permanent stasis and remained in its eternal capsule, long abandoned for countless years. As a result, Fecto Forgo grew very upset, needing back its other half to not only become whole again, but to stay active. Taking refuge in the realm of its dreams, over time its dreams had spread powerful waves of psychic energy which slowly started taking control of those closest to it, later resulting in the creation of the Illusionary Isles and Phantoms, made of dreams and psychic energy. Many years later, Fecto Forgo was encountered by the peaceful leader of the animal kingdom, Leon, whom purposely seeked to gain the miraculous power that these ancients had obtained in order to go to this land of dreams that he's heard of. Sensing an opportunity to escape its confinement and to stay alive, Fecto Forgo used its psychic powers emitted by its dreams to take over Leon's mind, brainwashing him into its minion. Now going by the name Leongar, formed the Vicious Beast Pact in order to find Elfilin.
As for their authority, Executive Gorimondo, the strong-armed brute with a big appetite, was set in charge of capturing the Waddle Dees and gathering food. Dazzling and daring Coraline, or once known as Carol, second in command of the Animal Kingdom. Carol did not understand Leon's behavior and decided to create a new identity of her own, joining the Beast Pack as second in command once more in order to look after Leon, with Executive Silly Dillo, the goofy, decorous hoarder, tasked with capturing Kirby and Elfilin. To keep themselves stable, they would open several portals which subsequently ended in Planet Popstar to claim a workforce, to run the Power and Lab Discoverer, or add them to the Beast Pack by having them get brainwashed. The Paint Sisters, along with the magical paintbrush, had long been left forgotten in an art studio residing in Floralia. After long months and countless years, Wood-Dee's sisters gained sentience after observing the world below them, making them jealous, making them hungry for revenge against humanity. Jirasha, being the eldest and the most influenced, took the magical paintbrush and turned Planet Popstar along with its citizens into her own piece of art. Patchland, or also known as the Yarn World, most or if not all of its citizens and structures are of course made of all, well, patches and yarn. It is ruled over by the righteous puffball-like Prince Fluff. Patchland is made of 7 pieces. It is all held together by what is known as the Magic Yarn, a power that corresponds with their famous magic metamados that grants one's form and abilities. What's more, residing in the walls of Patch Castle, Prince Fluff looks after the magic socks, which are used as dimensional hopping tools. Lost within this world lay the magic knitting needles that over time became sentient and took the identity as Yin-Yarn. From breaking apart Patchland, creating yarn beasts, and enslaving the citizens of Dreamland, these twins truly desire nothing but control.
The Wham Bam Clan. They are massive monsters made of the earth's materials. They hid deep underground and are feared by society. In today's fall, there was once a temple. And this temple was once heavily respected by the people of that time. One day, the people grew very upset and deserted the temple. The temple grew sad after it was abandoned, and after a long while, the Wham Bam Clan eventually emerged, and has since attacked anyone or anything that comes to disturb their slumber.
From that, we move on to the final stage of this thing we call life. The afterlife. Souls. Souls are the spiritual energies of one's being, including one's thoughts, mentality, and emotions. One's soul will continue to thrive after one's body no longer exists or when facing a near-death experience. Souls may hold a strong but chaotic power, which can cause them to lose sight of themselves and transform into something sinister, yet they can be shattered, absorbed, or practically even wiped away. Necrodeus, also known as the Lich or a god of the dead, a reanimated corpse or undead being, particularly one skilled in wizardry or magical arts such as necromancy, striking deals with evil forces in order to retain intellect and maintain a semblance of life beyond death. Necromancy is the practice of magic involving the communication with the dead, either by summoning their spirits as apparitions, visions, or raising them bodily for the purpose of unknown or supernatural means. Necrodeus long became sick and weak to the light in the land of the living. Thus, Necrodeus created and ruled over a celestial body of his own, known as Necro Nebula, along with its citizens being known as Scullies, a world filled with nothing but death and darkness. After a century, Necrodeus had obtained a very powerful scepter. Its asset influenced both Necrodeus and the newly established Skull Gang by granting them the capabilities to come out of hiding and gave them the ability to dispel light, spreading darkness across the galaxy in order to take control.
To the faithful land of the afterlife, the land of the dead, or also known as the Underworld. It is a world after death, and once you're there, it's hard to go back to the land of the living. The Underworld is silent, full of nothing but faded and scentless flowers blooming all over the place. The sky is gray without a sun, moon, or even clouds. However, using common flowers can tell time. You can't die again while within the Underworld, but if you are severely damaged, you'll end up paralyzed. You do not get tired in the Underworld, nor sick, nor sleepy, nor do you get hungry. Be aware that giving into temptation will have you remain trapped in the Underworld forever. Released from the Underworld exists the Red Butterflies. The Red Butterflies are heavily implied to be divine beings of judgment, or in other words, butterflies that decide one's fate after death. Somewhat reminiscent to that of a Grim Reaper, neither evil nor good, merely a force of nature and order. Death is a fundamental part of life, and it is the Grim Reaper's duty to claim the souls of the deceased, to maintain the balance of nature. However, it should be noted that Grim Reapers are not meant to judge, unlike these butterflies, who are all about judgment, opening portals to the land of the living in order to access their next victim. Depending on the circumstances, these portals also allow spirits to exit the land of the dead and into the land of the living as well. A given opportunity to return to one's body, if not remain as a lost soul forever, wandering the cosmos. The Red Butterflies particularly chose to judge the strongest of souls. They absorbed their abilities, dreams, and soul energy, in turn causing the Red Butterfly to transform into a very strong and terrifying warrior known as Morpho Knight, furthering their efforts in accomplishing this awaited day of judgment.
In the end, all thanks to Kirby, he has managed to defeat all of those big baddies, and even befriended some, giving them a new perspective on life, to see the bigger picture, to grow and evolve into the person they want to see in the world. No matter how dark the world can be, or get, whether in this land of dreams or the eternal wastelands, Kirby reminds us there will always be a light at the end of the tunnel, and Kirby will be your friend till the very end.